we are literally halfway through John Cena's retirement tour. And since then, we have seen a lot when it comes to John Cena. Of course, most notably being his heel turn all the way back at Elimination Chamber. From the moment John Cena hugged Cody Rhodes and changed his facial tone at Elimination Chamber, you knew it was a wrap. For the first time in over 20 years, John Cena was going heel. And let's just say it blew up the internet. We were all shocked. John Cena ultimately sold his soul to The Rock. And we all thought this was going to be a great run for John Cena, considering we haven't seen this current incarnation of John Cena as a heel before. The last time we saw John Cena as a heel was all the way back in 2003. Now fast forward all the way to July. John Cena just came off his match retaining his undisputed WWE Championship against CM Punk. And he's slated to face Cody Rhodes in a WrestleMania rematch for the undisputed WWE title next month at SummerSlam. But since we are at the topic of being halfway through John Cena's retirement tour, most notably, let's talk about his heel run, because I've seen a lot of talk about John Cena's heel run throughout the past couple of months, and a lot of it has been negative, and rightfully so. But the big question that we need to ask ourselves is, has John Cena's current heel run been a success or a failure? I think you know the answer to that question. What's up? It's yours truly, Flamin' Ricky DeRays, and these are my thoughts on whether or not John Cena's current heel run has been a success or a failure. Before we get into all this craziness, please make sure to like and subscribe to the Wrestle Havoc channel right here on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the scored circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the friggin' referee would say, ring that damn bell for more notifications. Okay, let's get straight into the John Cena talk. We all know John Cena turned heel at Elimination Chamber. He joined up with The Rock, and that was the biggest talking point when it comes to this whole John Cena heel turn. He joined up with The Rock. And as of the month in July, we still have no explanation as to why John Cena joined up with The Rock. Simply because of the fact that The Rock aired his dirty laundry on the Pat McAfee show the day after WrestleMania, flat out stating that the final boss's work here is done. I mean, the reaction to the WrestleMania 41 main event has been relatively negative. John Cena beat Cody Rhodes, but there was no involvement with The Rock. Instead, Cody Rhodes lost in embarrassing fashion, and he looked like a chump in the process. And essentially lost because of one man and one man only, Travis Scott. Yes, Travis Scott cost Cody Rhodes the WWE title, not The Rock. Why is that, you might add? It's because The Rock decided not to show up to WrestleMania. So if The Rock is not going to show up to WrestleMania, what was the point of John Cena selling his soul to The Rock? And The Rock is a large part of this discussion, considering he's been dipping his toes on WWE programming, especially during WrestleMania season. Of course, he couldn't get his way last year, so they pivoted and went with the original plan with Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 40. The Rock literally wanted to turn Cody Rhodes heel, which would have been a stupid idea to begin with, but that's another video for another time. So instead, they went with the idea of John Cena being the one turning heel. But realistically, now that I think about it, the majority of John Cena's heel run hasn't really been that special. I feel like his current heel run has only just gotten special ever since the whole CM Punk feud started. Because let me tell you, the build to their match at Night of Champions was fantastic. I loved the promo segments between John Cena and CM Punk. In my opinion, CM Punk is arguably one of John Cena's greatest rivals, and you can tell they just gel well on television. John Cena and CM Punk always had great chemistry, and it showed throughout the build for this match. But before that, John Cena's heel run was essentially what? Because I'm going to say this right here and right now, there was nothing really special about John Cena's heel run before that. And this goes even before he even won the world title. Now, I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this because John Cena flat out stated this in his promo, but this literally could have been the perfect opportunity to have a new presentation for John Cena. I understand his first promo as a heel, he was like, you get nothing. You expect me to give you something, but no, this time you are not going to have it. That was essentially his first promo as a heel. Look, I'm going to be serious with you guys. I can't take John Cena seriously as a heel if he is wearing the exact same attire that he has been wearing for the past 20 years. Ariel Helwani said it best. It feels like John Cena is playing a heel instead of acting as a heel. Because John Cena's first few promos were essentially your typical heel shtick. You fans turned on me, blah, blah, blah. Every heel in the book says that. This literally could have been the perfect opportunity to ditch the jean shorts, the colorful Fruity Pebble t-shirts, in favor of a suit. Because we all know John Cena loves wearing suits. This literally could have been the perfect opportunity to tap into a different style and a different presentation for John Cena's character. They didn't even have to change his music, they could have just changed his look. And yes, I understand why they kept with the same attire. It's because they're trying to sell t-shirts since it's John Cena's last year. But again, I'm just thinking out of my imagination. WWE could have done a better job in terms of John Cena's presentation. Now, his opponents. Look, ever since John Cena announced his retirement tour, everybody was curious as to who John Cena was going to face. John Cena essentially was going to be facing everybody in the book. Randy Orton, CM Punk, you name it. Cena wrestled Randy Orton at the Backlash show in St. Louis. And from the moment WWE announced that Backlash was going to be taking place in St. Louis, you knew for a fact that John Cena was going to be facing Randy Orton. The match was not bad at all. It was what you would expect from a typical Randy Orton and John Cena match. But of course, the match ended with controversy and it led to R-Truth interfering. Then they shifted towards the R-Truth feud, and it was a match that was going to be taking place at Saturday night's main event. And let's just say it was a pretty entertaining match. But then all of a sudden, a week later, R-Truth out of nowhere got released. In real life, by the way, and the "We Want Truth" response was so loud that WWE realized that they fucked up and they brought back R-Truth. If you want a more in-depth video about the whole R-Truth situation, please check out my 2 videos. They're definitely worth a watch. But then of course we had Money in the Bank, in which we had the tag team match between John Cena and Logan Paul taking on Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso. Now keep in mind, originally this match was going to be involving Travis Scott, because there was a lot of rumors about Travis Scott wrestling in some sort of capacity. I remember even hearing one rumor that we were possibly going to be getting a match between the team consisting of John Cena and Travis Scott taking on Cody Rhodes and Bad Bunny. That literally could have been the equivalent of Hulk Hogan and Dennis Rodman taking on DDP and Karl Malone at Bash at the Beach 1998. But again, with all the heat that Travis Scott got all the way back at WrestleMania, I feel like WWE saw the backlash that they were getting when the fans first heard this rumor, and they were like, you know what, let's not do that. Let's just have John Cena team up with Logan Paul, which is fine in and of itself, but it was nothing really special. The match was not bad at all. I thoroughly enjoyed the match for what it was. But the only thing that people are going to be remembering out of that whole show was the shocking return of R-Truth, which by the way was a great moment. John Cena's heel run only kicked up a notch from the moment he started feuding with CM Punk. Everybody knew we were going to get a feud between John Cena and CM Punk. It was bound to happen. John Cena and CM Punk had arguably one of the greatest matches of all time in Money in the Bank 2011. And I thought the CM Punk feud with John Cena was literally the only feud so far throughout the entirety of this John Cena heel run that had very unique and very interesting storytelling behind it. Because if you look at the Cody Rhodes match, the build for the Cody Rhodes match was not really the best. And a large portion of that unfortunately has to do with John Cena's schedule. The Randy Orton match was built relatively well, but if you really think about it, it was nothing that was all special. But I will say, it created a very interesting dynamic as Randy Orton was the babyface and John Cena was the heel. And throughout the majority of the John Cena and Randy Orton feuds in the past, Randy Orton was always the heel and John Cena was always the babyface. So the roles were reversed. So that was definitely the intrigue for that match. But in terms of the CM Punk feud, I feel like with the connection that CM Punk has with the audience, there was really no stopping CM Punk in terms of what he was going to do in this feud with John Cena, because we all know CM Punk is fantastic on the microphone. Not only that, I actually thought that this match was going to be taking place at SummerSlam. Me personally, I would have much rather had this match take place at SummerSlam, considering I'm planning on going to SummerSlam. But we got this match instead at Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia, of all places. Now, what makes Saudi Arabia very interesting in terms of this match? Well, it's very interesting considering the fact that the storyline per se is John Cena wants to label CM Punk as a hypocrite. Why? All because of a tweet that CM Punk put out all the way back in 2018, accusing The Miz of essentially making blood money with WWE, considering they have a whole deal with Saudi Arabia in place. And I thought them integrating that was fantastic. Not to mention, every time when CM Punk was accused of being a hypocrite, CM Punk always backed it up on the microphone. And of course, the peak of this whole feud was the pipe bomb that John Cena cut on CM Punk, which was easily the best work of his entire heel run. I mean, this guy flat out named Claudio Castagnoli, Nick Nemeth, and Matt Cardona. Of course, the former Cesaro, Dolph Ziggler, and Zack Ryder in WWE. And the crazy thing about it is the fact that the crowd absolutely popped when he said those 3 names. Look, I know every city reacts differently, and I believe they were in Grand Rapids, Michigan, but come on, all those fans that are in the arena are on the internet, and they know what's up. I mean, John Cena called him the biggest bullshitter. He called him a capitalist, you name it. Everything about that pipe bomb that John Cena cut was fabulous. And the crazy thing was CM Punk's retaliation was 10 times better, because of course he came out dressed as John Cena's Doctor of Thugonomics persona, and surprisingly rapped very well, essentially cooking John Cena in the process. Now, Now, the match itself was exactly what you would expect from a John Cena and CM Punk match. Especially before the interference happened, there was of course a lot of back and forth between the two. And that was a crucial part of the CM Punk and John Cena matches that we've seen in the past. And then of course we had a bunch of interference. It was overbooked to hell if you really think about it, but not in a bad way. And of course we got some sort of teases with a potential babyface turn in terms of John Cena. Of course we had Seth Rollins interfering, John Cena taking out all of the heels in the process, but at the end, John Cena still retained the WWE title, essentially with the help of Seth Rollins. So we had that slight tease of a babyface turn, but still John Cena's a heel and he retained his title. Now we fast forward to SummerSlam. What is going to be happening? We're going to be getting the rematch between Cody Rhodes and John Cena. Is the match going to end like it did before at WrestleMania, or is Cody Rhodes actually going to go over? It's a very interesting scenario. We are all already halfway through John Cena's retirement tour. We all know eventually John Cena is going to turn back into a babyface. It is only inevitable. It is not a matter of if, it is a matter of when. And they have been doing slow teases of John Cena potentially turning back into a babyface. Of course, we've seen this at Night of Champions. Another prime example of this was back at Saturday Night's Main Event, where John Cena literally gave the belt to the referee and the crowd erupted and started cheering for John Cena. Of course, John Cena swerved everybody, but still, that was a slight little tease. WWE is 100% prepared to turn John Cena back into a babyface. But that also begs the question, if they turn John Cena back into a babyface, looking back, are we going to perceive John Cena's heel run as a success or a failure? Honestly, I'm kind of 50-50 on it, because I've always wanted to see this current incarnation of John Cena as a heel. But imagine if we had gotten a scenario where John Cena turned heel at least maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Now granted, again, his schedule was still relatively rigorous in terms of his duties with Hollywood, but imagine if he had a heel run 3 years prior. Don't you think the circumstances would have been a little bit different? Or imagine if we had gotten a heel turn all the way back in 2012 as WWE originally intended to do. Where do you think John Cena would stand in the total poll of greatest WWE wrestlers of all time? Now granted, John Cena is arguably considered one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, but imagine if he had turned heel all the way back in 2012. Holy shit, it would have literally solidified John Cena as like officially part of the Mount Rushmore. Now granted, he's already part of that Mount Rushmore, but he would have been, holy shit, even bigger than he already is. I mean, he's huge right now, but you got my drift. But all I'm saying is that, has this John Cena heel run been beneficial or detrimental to his current retirement tour? Honestly, looking back, we did not need to turn John Cena heel. I think WWE turning John Cena heel was a situation of like, hey, we haven't done this before. The last time you were a heel was before you even got your feet wet in the WWE, and let's just get this over with the time that we have left. I feel like WWE really wanted to sell you the moment of John Cena turning heel. Because if you really think about it, John Cena turning heel, and I stated this before, was essentially my generation's version of Hulk Hogan turning heel and joining the NWO. Now granted, if you compare Hulk Hogan's run to John Cena's run, it's like night and day, and there's not even a comparison. But in terms of the moment itself, they're on par with each other. But the runs themselves are completely different. I'm gonna be real honest with you guys, we did not have to turn John Cena heel. John Cena could have stayed a babyface throughout the entirety of his retirement tour, and we probably would have still gotten the same types of content that we have gotten now. But some can make the argument, if John Cena hadn't turned heel, would we have gotten that pipe bomb promo that John Cena cut on CM Punk? Who knows? But I'm very 50-50 on it, because throughout the first few months of John Cena's heel run, I did give it time. But around Money in the Bank, I came to the realization that there was nothing really special behind John Cena's heel run. It was essentially John Cena playing heel, and that was it. He wasn't acting as a heel. He didn't present himself as a heel. He did the normal heel shtick of, I was the victim of a toxic relationship. It's the same thing that heels have stated all the time. And I feel like a lot of people expected something different for John Cena. Again, I understand that John Cena is like, you get nothing. That is why John Cena came out in his exact same look. But dude, imagine if John Cena came out in a full-fledged suit, acting like a completely different person. I feel like his heel run would have been a little bit more impactful. But I understand WWE got to sell some merchandise, because it is John Cena's last year, and WWE wants to capitalize on that. But I will say, I am kind of 50-50 on John Cena's heel run. I genuinely believe that the moment that we got at Elimination Chamber was one of the best moments, especially in my wrestling fandom. I'm going to be realistic with you guys, and I'm so happy that I captured my reaction. But I feel like the outcome of that heel run, I feel like there was so much more that we just haven't tapped into. The whole dynamic with The Rock was right there, and I feel like WWE botched that so hard. The Rock purposely not being involved literally ruined a lot of people's perception on John Cena's heel run. Because if you had John Cena turn heel at Elimination Chamber and join up with The Rock, you would expect The Rock to be involved in some sort of capacity. But no, The Rock was like, nah, you know, you got me at Elimination Chamber because, you know, you guys needed to sell more tickets. I'm not going to show up at WrestleMania. Bro, you cannot tell me that there is no power struggle between Triple H and The Rock. But again, that's another video for another time. But in terms of John Cena's heel run, even though we got good content out of it, we should have gotten way more than what we got. And to me, that is a negative because there was so much potential in terms of this John Cena heel run. And unfortunately, we are halfway through John Cena's retirement tour, and he's eventually going to turn babyface anytime now. But yeah, that was my video on John Cena and his current heel run. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, push that bell for notifications. I'm on the lookout for more videos right here on the Wrestle Havoc channel in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the friggin' referee would say, ring that damn bell for more notifications. And as always, it is yours truly, Flamin' Ricky DeRays, signing out. I'll see you guys all in the next video. Peace.